Well, hello and welcome to day 165, 365 days towards racial change. My name is Tom Lynn's Nyback, and we're here talking about black issues in America, my personal perspective, and we're looking at history and other uh, resources to inform us about what's really going on in the world. I continue this project, committed to 365 posts coming up on the halfway mark. We've looked at a lot of angles, aspects, and information, and we got a long way to go. Many more topics to discuss on this project. We've got, 400 years of issues, and I believe certain aspects still prevail today. But I need more than just to say it. We need to look at some facts. Today's headlines, things like that. Like this recent unrest in Memphis. These law enforcement officers. They say they fired upwards of 55 shots at this man, killing this man, black man, and you just wonder this utter violence against the black skin. What is it that white people, see as so dangerous? Why do they feel so vulnerable in its presence? You know, um, I don't know, after 10, 15 shots and the guy's down, I think, you've made your point. I'm sorry I laugh, but it's ridiculous. Like, it's overkill. So those are some of the things we look at. In this year, I don't think we'll look at specifically why violence by white law enforcement against black people is so supercharged. Those we got to go into some deeper, maybe philosophical issues. I think we can find some of the foundations in history and the subjects we've broached here, but there is something deeper going on with these killings, these outright executions and murders in America. You don't see the same violence consistently perpetrated against white men ever anywhere in history. We're going through this is Pride. The LGBTQ community is having their celebration, and they're gaining great momentum and stuff. Glory to all their work and efforts, and they have their martyrs and whatnot as well. But it's just no group of people shares in this level of vulnerability in America. Only black folks do. So some of this is what we get to. Now, as I continue the project, two big thoughts emerge. We're just going to keep hammering it home until we get the message. First part is the thought, the mind of America. And that first part about the mind of America has two sides. First side is the mind of black folks. How are black folks feeling, behaving mentally here in America? What are we doing in our minds that keeps us as a group from excelling and overcoming? We got our outliers. We got plenty of representation on television and whatnot, but the majority of the minority is failing, is struggling. Why is that? Is there some responsibility there mentally? I believe any change is going to begin in the mind. So we want to ask those questions of black people, what they're thinking, how they're thinking, their process of what black people as a group are getting at. And we're dealing with human beings, so it's all over the board. Now, it's all over the board, but the outcome is still the majority of the minority is vulnerable and not participating as well as the majority of the majority, white folks. Now, the other side of that same coin is white folks. What are white folks thinking? What are they? What do they talk about around the dinner table? What do they feed, promote amongst each other, amongst their children in the world? What are they? What are they thinking? How do they think? What's their mental process? Appears to me they move about with such familiarity, such privilege. They're great in numbers, and is there some mental foundation to being white? I wonder about that. How is that they are in control, not just in America, but in the world, throughout the world, they are kind of dictating and they are the point for morality, the basis of law, financial institutions. What goes on in the United States really does impact what goes on in the world. Our president, he can say when he says little things, whole markets prosper or collapse. Nations are put on red alert, right? So that's some of the things I think about as far as the mind of black people, the mind of white people. Now, my second huge concern is financial literacy. Now, I'm flipping channels more and more. It's good to see more black representation, at least in commercials, with an emphasis on financial literacy. That is the key to bringing us up and out. Now, I can expect I'm paranoid. I'm going to say that publicly. If a whole lot of black people and a whole lot of underclass of whites, blacks, Hispanics, Asians, everybody, there's representation of underclass throughout the system. But if a lot of people start catching on to financial literacy, I'm wondering, what's the next step? What's the next level that this institution created by whites, administered by whites, created for whites, what's going to be their response? Because that's what there is, financial literacy as far as, understanding, you're not made on this earth to get a job and enrich somebody else. You want to prosper or at least self-determine your life, I'm guessing. I won't say not everybody wants to be millionaire, billionaire, trillionaire, and stuff like that. I get that. Not everybody wants to be out front in the limelight, in the spotlight. But I'm guessing people want to be left alone to a degree where they can grow and learn and live and prosper themselves, unencumbered in the world, And what what that entails, so many are just born into the rat race. You got to get out of the rat race, your 9 to 5 or whatever you do cyclically here in the world. Like me, I'm still a blue collar guy, making small, tiny moves to get out of that, so I can self-determine and run my own life. That takes financial literacy. It takes understanding, understanding and just some fundamentals too. I think not a doctorate in macroeconomics or international financial policy and things like that. I think we could just get our handle on it if we can think a little bit about simple things. Inflation. What's inflation? Why is it detrimental? I'm reading a great book called The Creature from Jekyll Island. Really it's walking me through understanding pros and cons, pitfalls of a financial institution of the United States, central banking and such, things like that. Business entities, structures, taxes, things like that are important to know. And it's the most important thing, but the system held me hostage for 13 years to get an education and stuff. What a waste. I hope there's a way to get the system. We could probably save a whole lot of money. Just give us a potent education in the fundamentals, introductory, and let those individuals then be exposed to a whole lot of different things, and then make a choice. Back in biblical times, a male Jew was considered a man in his early teens. He was already getting his stuff together. I think there's some validity to that. So financial literacy is extremely important. I am inspired by a man named Dr. Claude Anderson. I've read 3 of his works. And we reference these resources heavily. First is Black History Reader, 101 Questions You Never Thought to Ask. And I want you, if you only get one of his books, if this project interests you, please get that one. That'll give you a cross-section of history and all the things we talk about here. Black Labor, White Wealth, Search for Power and Economic Justice. And Dr. Anderson's National Plan to Empower Black America, Powernomics. You can find Dr. Anderson at powernomics.com and the Heritage Institute in Washington, D.C. Also behind me, you'll see a #US2 symbol. You'll find Black women supporting each other there. Check out Blog Enough, BLAGGENUF, for more Black resources and whatnot. And let me just give you a disclaimer. I don't really visit these sites all that often. I'm not even a big internet user in that way, social media and stuff like that. And also, I want you to understand, just because it's Black doesn't mean it's right. I have my own personal vetting process for all creeds, colors, and whatnot. So, but those are just 2 introductory resources. Get you going. Let's see. If you're on the World Wide Web, so hopefully you can search whatever browsers and stuff. You try and find your own flavor, your voice here. If you can't find what you're looking for, start your own. These companies are giving away, for now, space and take advantage of it while it's there. And finally, what we're into today, Uncle Tom's Cabin. Harriet Beecher Stowe's fictional account of slave life in America, although those fictional stories and stuff have a lot of truth in them. And it's very good work. I've read the whole book, and we're just walking through chapters today. We're in part 2 of chapter 17. And so today, just a quick review. We got back with Eliza, Harry, and George, and they're being cared for by some Quakers. Kind of, it's the Underground Railroad, just not officially called that as yet. And so they're moving forward. They've gotten ready. They're on the road, and they've been discovered by some bounty hunters, and the bounty hunters are liquored up, and they're assisting some constables. It's a big party going out. You can imagine that it's not going to bode well to be captured by these guys, with those alcohol, female, blackmail. It's not good. We talked at the top of this post about violence against the darker skinned people. So these guys have guns, alcohol, a little resentful for having to chase the black people through the woods at night. It's not good. So the Quakers, Eliza, Harry, and George are running for their life. They've been kind of cornered up on a rocky precipice, but it's easily defensible. They could stay there, theoretically indefinitely, but they're trapped at the same time. So the head guy, Tom Loker, we've been introduced to him, and he pokes his head over. He gets up his courage, and he's not going to be dissuaded from his bounty up there. The bounty is for these people, dead or alive. So he rushes in. In the process, and this is where we ended yesterday, George fires a shot at him, and it does strike him in the side. It strikes Tom Loker in the side. Consequently, Tom tumbles down the precipice. On the way, he's harassed by trees, branches, rocks, and things like that. The mountainside gives him a good butt whipping on the way down. That further agitates the wound from George's bullet. So he's cursing and groaning, and he falls there near motionless. He's groaning in pain and whatnot. Hart and the hunting party is like, whoa, these black folks, they're armed, and they're willing to pull the trigger. Maybe that's what's happening in America against black folks. This kind of overkill is because you're going to run in. Well, the idea, I heard this. I forget the gentleman who made the videos, but I heard this years ago. About the stereotype of black people being hyper-violent and dangerous. So that's part of some of the issue going on there. But anyway, the hunting party, the bounty hunters back off. Even one of the constables rides away. The liquor's wearing off. They're starting to sober up. Heads are starting to hurt. It's late, so they're probably getting tired. So they decide to try to pick up their fallen comrade and whatnot. But it just so happens this guy is fat, heavy, and so they can't get him back on his horse to ride back to town. So they leave him. You know, the euphoria of the chase, that factors in. I've seen like you see people sometimes captured and enraptured by watching some violence happen. I can cite a lot of things, but if you could think, if you see when in high school, if a fight breaks out, there's a group watching the fight, encouraging and looking to see who can land the best blow. And so this kind of that those kind of observations wear off along with the alcohol from these guys. So they leave them there, and I don't know, like the book doesn't say what their plan is, if they're even coming back. But they just left them. Now, and then the story centers, it softens a little bit. Eliza is the first one to, mention the eternal destiny of this individual. What she's concerned about this person's soul, and there's more of this this Christianity flavored language comes into the text, and so Eliza, she's the first one to show compassion for this fallen bounty hunter. She insists on even helping him and staying behind and bandaging him up, because he's no longer a threat. He's pretty banged up. He's pretty well banged up, even to the point where George is like, George is the one that shot him, but George is like, kind of feeling some kind of way. He doesn't want to be responsible for sending someone on into the next life, even someone who would readily execute him and cause his life misery, put him back in chains. This compassion, this empathy comes out, and all this is mixed in with a lot of Christian language. This is some of the issues I have. I don't know if it's growth or immaturity on my part, but I know I have a little journey to go in forgiveness and compassion and empathy when I feel slighted. So as I go through this text, I'm constantly up against, and Harriet Beecher Stowe kind of forces the issue with, my commitment to God and the slave's commitment to God versus being controlled and manipulated into being put in a vulnerable position. Everybody's got to make their own choice and journey with that, but I'm just big on being honest in the conversation about whatever's going on. You can't just be, throw off, I was talking to a friend of mine, she's a Christian, and we were talking about the LGBTQ community. And she says, well, I'm divided, and I'll just tell them the Bible. So that's her choice. But I'm like, let's do some critical thinking. Let's think this through. Yes, even God said it, and the Bible has this information and the text and stuff like that. But don't just cast off your reasoning thought. Didn't God put a brain in that skull? Let's use it, and so that when we land on a decision or an issue, we know how we came to that decision. It's not just some automatic knee-jerk. Someone else hasn't thought the argument for us. We've done that work ourselves. So that's something I come up against here in her text often, because we're going to revisit Jesus and stuff like that continually through the text, and it's important to discussion to see how our trajectory is unfolding, because it's woven into the text. It's part of the story. We can just say hands down because the Bible said, or the pastor said, or a group said. What we got to come to our own decisions here. So even though in the story, Eliza, her heart softened, George's heart softened, the Quakers that are with him, they soften. So they take their Tom up and carry him off to another Quaker home. And that's how the chapter ends, with Tom Loker, not Uncle Tom, is in and out of consciousness. His wound is bandaged. Apparently the bullet did not lodge in him. It passed through, or just made a grievous flesh wound on him. So that shows a little of George's, could George have just meant to wing him, graze him, I get from the scene that this bounty hunter is exposed as George fires this projectile at him. That George deliberately kind of cast off. We'll find out. Who knows? So that's there we are, chapter 17, just catching up, see what's going on. I have no idea what's going to happen. I mean, I read the book, but we here don't know what's going to happen in chapter 18. If she's going to continue with this story, now that the bounty hunter is in the hands of the people that he was chasing. So let's see how that ends, how that continues to unfold. I'm Tomlin's Nyback. That's day 165 out of the way of 365 days towards racial change. I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.